Well, hello there, Tenno. Are you sweating? Have you reached Steel Path and realised you're woefully underprepared? Are you screeching towards it at a rate of not thinking that it really is the place you need to be, but like you have a sneaking suspicion that you're not going to be killing things very quickly? Do you keep dying? Well, fear not, because I'm here to tell you that this is normal. Steel Path is on the horizon and easier to get to than ever for players, but you must be prepared to know. So I'm going to guide you through some essential pointers. Now, I was going to do one massive long video, but because you don't have a massive long attention span anymore, I'm going to break it down into little episodes. And today we're looking at frames that will help you survive. But before we get into it, please drop me a like, comment, and/or sub. To unlock Steel Path, you must complete all of the nodes within reason on the normal star chart, and there will be a few still flashing once you've done it, so don't panic about it. Some of those nodes will require quests to be completed, some of the junctions also. If you aren't sure what nodes you still must complete for you and your journey, you should be able to head to any of the Arbiters of Hexuses at any relay, and they will display that info for you. If you go to the guy on the left here, I can't show you this on the screen, however, because I've already unlocked Steel Path, as you can see. And Steel Path is just so much more difficult than normal star chart because the enemies have been modified. They have their base level increased by 100 with significant boosts to their health, shields and armor, along with increased spawn rates for high level units among others, and the chance for acolyte mini bosses to appear and try to ruin your day, creating a much higher difficulty spike than normal mode. And we as players must adapt. We must use specialized loadouts, better mods, more powerful mods, which we're going to have a look at in a moment. We're going to have to use different damage types. We're going to have to get savvy with that, you know. So before we get into some abilities and some Warframes that A, will help you survive, and B, help you strip the enemies of their armor, I want to be so for real with you right now. Like, I'm going to show you the Warframes in this video, and then weapons in another, and useful mods in another, and companions in another, and we're going to go on and on and on. But you really do need to do some prep for Steel Path. People are rushing through the game, they're not collecting the better mods, they're not getting enough credits or endo, or mod polarity by increasing their mastery rank, or investing in former builds and catalysts, i.e. potatoes, to double up those mod slots before they get to Steel Path. And honestly, better mods, arcanes and builds are literally the only way forward on Steel Path. So like, you're going to have to knuckle down and play the game a little, okay? A bit of time investment needed, my darlings. But I'm here to help with that. So let's have a quick look at some abilities that were going to help you on Steel Path. We have Nyx and her psychic bolts. She unleashes a volley of psychic bolts that track and strike nearby enemies with telekinetic precision. When enemies are slain, additional bolts scatter to new targets. And basically, this is a defense reduction. This is armor stealing, shield stealing, overguard stealing, armor steal capping, and overguard steal capping. Look at the amount of stuff this one ability is giving you. And it's also got an augment mod. So Nyx's psychic bolts, unfortunately it is not helminthable onto other frames, but yeah, this one is a really good ability to take on Steel Path. And next up with his buns of steel is our beloved Styanax with his Tharos Strike. Helminthable, by the way. This one, basically you swing Tharos to repel enemies and reduce their shields and armor. Styanax regenerates health for every enemy struck. So not only does he cause them to have a defense reduction of 100% if you mod him correctly, but it also gives him health every time you smack the shizzle out of them with Tharos Strike. And you can helmet it onto other Warframes. Armor stripping. What's not to love, my darlings? Next on the list we have our beloved Zaku and their ability The Lost with their sub-ability Gaze. This basically grasps targets in void tendrils that capture, damage and inflict it when the target is released. And by this they mean we've got a defense reduction going on, and as you can see I've got it at 100% because I've got my ability strength over 200%. Or if you put corrosive projection or a mod in, armor is fully stripped at 164% ability strength. And we love a bit of armor and shield stripping on Steel Path, just saying. And next up we have our beloved Caliban, who soon has a prime on the way. His fusion strike. Oh look, defense reduction right on the bottom there. And it's actually at 100%, which means we are armor and shield stripping. I know, right? These little abilities come in so freaking useful. Unfortunately, this one is not helminthable, but there's another one we can have a look at. It's very, very useful and very, very helminthable. Last up we have, that's right, a beloved muscle mama Hildrin, and her ability Pillage, which is helminthable and very useful at shield and then armor stripping. So because she uses her shields as her energy, we want to be stripping shield from the enemies and giving it to Hildrin, and that's great. It boosts up her shield and everything, and it can only strip the armor once the shields have been stripped. But with one corrosive projection or a mod, and I mean you have to have very high ability strength to do full armor stripping, 328%. But we are still stripping some shields and armor off the enemy, so it's a very, very useful helminthable ability. So let's go over a little list of Warframes that might help you survive on early days at Steel Path, and I'm going to assume that you have at least one of these Warframes that you can work on, whether it's the primed version or not, or you can go and find them, I hope. So the first obvious choice for a lot of people is Revenant. He's the GOAT. He's really good at surviving. Basically, you've got it all with him. You've got Enthrall, which is his first ability, so you can have your own little army of people marching around. You have Mesmer Skin, which basically makes you kind of invincible. It reflects any status effects, and you can recharge it by reaving, your third ability, through the enemies, stripping off their health and shields and giving it back to your Mesmer Skin. I know, just keep on dashing. And then we have Dance Macabre, his fourth ability. It's Energy Beam, an Eidolon Energy Beam, and it adapts to the enemy damage type. So i.e. it's like corrosive against armor units, magnetic against shielded ones. Like, you don't have to worry about modding correctly for that. It just does the work for you. And you can press the trigger down whilst you're popping that ability and make it go faster and kill enemies quicker, but you will use more energy. So this is my Revenant Prime build. We're going to look at where to get a lot of these mods from later, and I'm going to quickly show you in action. I'm solo and I got through it and it's fine. As you can see, his life bar at the top right is in silver, which means he's completely immune to taking any real damage. He's just a tank, and when you get overwhelmed, look, you can just pop the fourth ability. And I don't know if you noticed, in the mod station we didn't have anything special. We just had like the prime mods. We had a augment mod in there for his Mesmer Skin. We'll get into augment mods and useful mods like prime mods and galvanized mods later. But we can also talk about shield gating later as well, which you'll have to do with some frames. But Revenant doesn't need shield gating. He doesn't need any cheats. No cheat sheet. He's fine. As long as you keep his Mesmer Skin up and keep charging it back up, you're good to go, my darlings. So this is him on Steel Path. I'm going to show you some of my weapon loadouts as well later. I don't want to overwhelm you in one go. Okay, let's away to the next tanky Warframe you could try. And it's an obvious choice, RHINO. You can get RHINO quite early on in the game as well and do a lot of work on him by Steel Path or the Prime version if you can get him. Now, he is an absolute tank with his Iron Shrapnel skin. However, if you get to the point of Steel Path, hopefully you'll have your Helminth unlocked and you can add this ability, Parasitic Armor. It comes with your Helminth as you unlock it and rank it up. If you put it on RHINO, I've done a whole video on this, by the way, you have a Parasitic Armor build. And I'm going to show you it in action because what it does, if you use it correctly, is build up a mega shit ton of overguard. Like, I mean, I didn't get it even a fraction of as high as I could get it because it all depends on how much damage you're taking when you pop it. So you pop your parasitic armor, you sacrifice your shields, you then charge into the enemies, and then whilst you're taking damage you pop your iron shrapnel, and essentially you get this massive overguard boost. And as you can see, it was around 140,000-ish, but I've had it up to 300,000-ish with this build, depending where I'm at in the star chart, how much damage I'm taking at the time. But I'm just going to show you RHINO taking the damage. This is Steel Path. I don't know if it's Lua Circulus or Lua, one of the other Lua ones, Uvarium. Pretty sure it's Circulus. And he's just taking the damage, look, and it's all coming off his overguard. And yeah, it's like just tickling us a little bit, and then once it runs out we'll just do this whole parasitic armor build again. So this dude is a tank and a half. He's got his raw damage boost buff ability, and you just won't die. If you put this parasitic armor on and you keep popping it, you're going to survive, okay? No more dying, I promise. Now go and check out that Rhino build video. And next up we have our beloved Dante. I love this dude. Now I have helmets off his first ability, the Grimoire, but you can leave it on and play with it. This is my build that I use with Precision Intensify because his fourth ability does require that extra little boost, and it does come in useful. However, you don't need to use Precision Intensify. You can just get his strength up, full stop. He's got Overguard, you know, just like Rhino. If you pop it, he stays alive, not much takes him down. He's got his Paragrims, which are kind of like crowd control. He's got his extra little booky book that if you pop it out, not the Grimoire, but the light verse, then dark verse, then his fourth ability, you get this extra little book that pops out, and it gives you, I think it's multi-shot or doubles up the damage from your weapon. I can't remember which, but either way, it's a little boost, a bit like Rhino. And honestly, he's got it all. And with the viral from Nourish and the endless energy regen from that, I, as you can see, do not have one singular problem with Dante, and this again is Steel Path footage, probably Lua Circulus. I tried to keep it the same to show you each time, just like this is solo, just how much fun these guys are. And as you can see, his Overguard, because his Paragrims are kind of crowd controlling, he's not taking too much damage, and his Overguard is staying up, and we can just pop it, just keep popping it when it dies off. So, you know, have fun with Dante, guys. Oh, and next up is our beloved VALKYR, or as we like to call her over here, ValKitty. She got a rework recently. I've done a whole video. It's called VALKYR Hyperhysteria. Go and check it out, where I show you the builds and just how deeply I fell in love with her. Even though I'm not a melee player, she got a rework, but with these mods that you see in front of you, this is what you're going to see in action, and she isn't dying anytime soon. I took her out on Steel Path. Solo again. Oh, she has armor boosting. She's immune to status effects while also making enemies more susceptible to taking a melee damage, which is massively convenient because that's her fourth ability in its entirety, just pure melee. And when you are meleeing the absolute shizzle out of the enemies, guess what? That's right, it heals you as you kill them. And because you're killing things so quickly, it's kind of like constant shield gating, but with health gating. There's no... It might go down, as you can see, but it's constantly going back up because we're killing things so damn quick. So if you take VALKYR with this build or something similar, you're going to be fine. You won't die. So next up is our lovely Lavos. You can get original Lavos from the Necrolisk, and he's well worth getting because he's just a tank, and he can apply so many status effects to the enemies. And I know it can feel a bit faffy when you've got multiple things going on with abilities, but once you've learned how to use them and how to combine them to make the different status effects, like he's so useful for adapting to different enemy types. And he drops down universal health and energy orbs for you and your allies, and he drops down universal ammo. So if you were ranking up your heavy weapon, like one of your necromech weapons, like the Mausson or something, in a mission like this, he'll drop down ammo for and just keep it going. He's amazing. And we're using a bit of a shield gating build here because I just wanted to show you how that works, which we'll come back to later when we're talking about modding. But you can see he's tanky. He's tanky AF, even without a huge health and shield pull. This is again Steel Path, high level, Lua Circulus, and he's fine. He's absolutely fine. He's just a tank. I promise. If you build him and you start to use him and you start to apply status effects, you're going to be good. Not much dying going on over here. And next up is our beloved KULLERVO, got from Veery. Now, if you know how I feel about Veery, I actually saved up my platinum pennies and bought him because there ain't no way I'm grinding him out. But I wanted him, even though I'm not really into melee, and one of his abilities is like pure melee spam. He gives you Overguard from struck enemies. Once he's got maximum health, he just gets an Overguard cap, which means, you know, he will go down eventually, but it's kind of... There's a way to build him and use him to keep that Overguard running and up. But I haven't quite got there yet. But he's still really tanky AF. And I did take him on Steel Path again. And we spammed the heckies like out of his melee, which can also charge up your Incarnon melees, which is so freaking useful because I'm trying to rank up the Ceramic Dagger Incarnon at the moment. And using his melee spam ability. Look at the red crit that we're getting. We just muller everything as it's running, and then you just pop the ability again and it just triggers it again, and it's honestly disgustingly addictive. As you can see, we've got like around between 25 and 30,000 overguard. I'm sure we could work on more than that. And as you're killing things, it's like popping back up, as you can see. So it's kind of recharging the overguard because of our max health situation, because he doesn't have any shields. So there's no shield gating possible with KULLERVO. It doesn't matter because you're just killing everything with your melee and not dying. Oh my god, it was addictive, guys. So yeah, go and get yourself a KULLERVO if you want to survive on Steel Path. No problemo. And for this video, this is just my last option, ZEPHYR. There are so many other options. We haven't even looked at Styanax and all the other frames that can help you survive in the early days of Steel Path, but ZEPHYR is one of them. She floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee. Honestly, what's not to love? She's one of those frames that you don't have to build for high ability strength at all, because all the damage to the enemies comes from you shooting into her tornadoes. It sort of multiplies the damage of your weapon, so you don't really need to worry about that. You just need to worry about duration and range really with her. And as you can see, we're just floating, and I've inverted her abilities, so it's kind of like tap, you jump, tap one, and then she just hovers. She just hovers, man. And yeah, it can be a bit awkward, and you do need a companion with like a hoovering up mod to suck up all the energy orbs for you, so you have to keep landing on the floor. That's one thing I learned very quickly. But I took I believe this is my Torrid Incarnate, but I was tempted to try my Trumna Prime to shoot into her tornadoes to do lots and lots of damage. But I'm going to trial lots of different weapons with this build. But the Torrid was like the best one in a short space of time. However, I need to work on my Trumna Prime. And when I did my research, it was recommended because it can do a metric shit ton of damage, especially with our ZEPHYR build. But as you can see, where one of her abilities literally reflects damage. I think it's her third one. So as long as that's running, she's not really going to take a huge amount of damage. When she's up in the air, she does more damage. And you can just crowd control with her tornadoes. What's not to love? Go and get yourself a ZEPHYR and start flying around the sky now. Wolfx UK is going to be wetting himself with excitement right now because he absolutely loves our beloved ZEPHYR. And now, Wolf, I can see why, and I'm definitely 100% going to be doing a ZEPHYR video. And I know there are a ton of other options. These were just some that I wanted to show you that are good at surviving to start with. And I'm going to show you other builds and other weapons and everything in other videos. But to wrap this video up, I just want to show you some of the mods that we really need to start thinking about getting hold of. And I'm not going to tell you how to farm endo and credits in this video, but you are going to need a ton of endo and credits to fully fuse these mods up. So let's get stuck into some of the better mods we can be getting. And first up, we have a corrupted mod obtained from Oricon Derelict missions on Deimos. Basically using those dragon keys you get from, I believe, one of your labs in your dojo to open vaults that you've got to look for. And you get a random corrupted mod given to you. These mods give a beneficial stat and a penalty stat, but these can be used to our advantage in many ways in our builds. See ZEPHYR, for example. We didn't need a huge amount of ability strength, just range and duration and all that shizzle. So these corrupted mods come into their own in that kind of build. So, did something to work on. They're often a balancing act that can work in our favour. There are 24 to collect, but not all of them are for Warframes. Obviously, some are for weapons as well. So get Dragon Key building, and they are tradable too, so you can buy them for plat if you wanted to. Next up, we'll briefly mention Nightmare mods. There are a few of them that are very useful, but the Warframe ones I don't tend to use very often. But if you want the Nightmare mods, I mean, if you're a collector of the items, just go to your alerts tab, scroll down to Nightmare mode missions. There's usually a penalty for playing those missions, and there are a few to get hold of for your Warframes, and you can just trial and error them, but there are like hammer shot for your primaries, I think, or secondaries. Very, very good to get hold of. And our beloved primed mods, an enhanced version of a non-primed counterpart featuring greater bonuses obtained from login rewards. I think there's like 4, and also Barrow Key Tier, our beloved void trader that comes every other Friday for ducats and creds. And again, I've done a video on that too if you'd like to go and check it out. If you're trading them from other players, no matter what the plat charge is, the credit trade tax will always be 1 million. It's so many. So get saving if you want to trade them. If you're too impatient to wait for Barrow to come and buy them for ducats and credits. And there are around 50-ish to collect in the game, and they are really freaking useful. And let's not forget augment mods. These are sometimes worth their weight in gold in a build. And if you helmet an ability that an augment mod is linked to onto another Warframe, you can use that augment mod on a new Warframe, as long as it's just linked to the ability. And some are really, really good, and some are just a bit trashy. I'm going to show you Wisp in a moment with her brand new soul augment, and it is freaking amazing. So I highly recommend just getting the augments, just trialing them. And if you're not sure, go to like Overframe and have a look at which ones are really worth their while, and take time to read the information on the augment mod. And a really good test of whether it's a good mod or not is how much it costs on the Warframe market, because the good ones are always popular. And while we're just taking a look at these amalgam mods in my mod station, by the way, you can't trade these. You can only get them from special events in the game, like Thermia Fracture events, Operation Buried Debt, maybe the Plague Star event, I can't remember. I don't use them a huge amount. You can see the ones I fused up are the ones I use. But I know you're going to be saying in the comments, like, why aren't you telling us which mods to use, which are the best mods? I can't tell you. I can only show you my builds, because everybody's got their own kind of way of building, but they're always going to be the most popular mods in a build, which you would have seen in my builds that I showed you. So Equilibrium is very useful for when you are very heavy on using a lot of energy, or you're not very efficient. Sometimes you're going to need a lot of range and not much strength, but sometimes you're going to need a balance of all four. Sometimes you're going to need more duration than range. Sometimes you're going to need a ton of range. So it kind of varies for Warframes. So I'm not going to sit here and go like over every single mod, because we will actually be here for 3 hours. But I can direct you in the direction of getting these better mods. And I just want to mention Umbral mods. They are very useful, and you get them after you've done the sacrifice quest. So get questing before you get to Steel Path, because you're going to need these mods. Now, Arcanes are a little bit trickier, because you really do need a lot of them to fuse them up fully, rank them up fully, and some are really, really useful, and some are kind of very niche. So I would advise getting things like Molt Augmented and Arcane Energize and Arcane Grace if you can. These drop from Eidolon hunts, they come from the Zariman, but they are also very tradable, as in they don't cost a huge amount of plat. You do need 21 of each arcane to fully rank it up to rank 5, unless it's one of the arcanes that has a rank 3, which are like usually the PAX charge ones that you get from Fortuna. Those are for weapons and things. More on that in another video, because I have an amazing kit gun build to show you for Steel Path. And also you have arcanes for operators and drifters and your amps, but let's think about your Warframe. Sometimes the arcane can actually help kind of replace the behavior of a mod. So when you're really tight for mod space and you're trying to really squeeze something else in, if you can find an arcane and obtain it that will help kind of solve that problem of your mod station, then go for it. And there are so many arcanes to collect. I will do, I think, a separate arcane video, because we want to talk about how we're going to get the arcanes. Now you can dissolve old arcanes that you're collecting, and obviously you will collect arcanes when you're on Steel Path from the acolytes potentially when they drop, but you can go and do Zariman missions and they will drop arcanes, and you can earn standing and buy arcanes from various places in the game, the Zariman being one of them. You can do Eidolon hunts and maybe get some from those, but we'll do a whole other video on those, because like I said, otherwise we are going to be here for 3 hours. And now let's look at Archon shards briefly, because they're like arcanes in a way. They can replace a mod essentially, or they can work in conjunction with a mod, and you can have all sorts. Once you start getting to Archons and Archon shards, oh my goodness, yes, you can get them from Netrasar missions at the Sanctum and the Elite Archimedean missions. I haven't actually done those, but I have managed to get a ton of Archons. You can buy one as well, I think, from Bird 3 at the Sanctum for 30,000 standing once a week. So yeah, it's well worth going for, and they can, like I said, replace mods. So like Equilibrium can work in conjunction with like energy replenishment. So if you're using a lot of energy and you're not very efficient, you might want to put an Archon shard in to help with your energy, or you might want to help with corrosive stacks if you're armor stripping, or you might want to help with your casting speed if your abilities are a bit slow off the mark. You can boost up your ability strength or duration if you don't want to waste like an Augur Secrets mod in your build. You know, if you want to squeeze something else in, these are often very useful. They're not compulsory and you can do without them. We played this game without these frilly bits on for a very long time. When these came along, it was like Christmas. All the Christmases have come at once. Okay, so these again are things you're going to build up over time. So if you've raced through to Steel Path and you don't have many, it's not the end of the world, but they would come in super useful in your builds. Archon mods up next. Super freaking useful if you have abilities that deal different types of damage. You may as well apply this instead of the normal intensify or the umbral intensify. Again, you can fiddle around with them, and we can do testing in the simulacrum. We'll get to that in a moment. And yeah, you get these from doing the Carl missions, or again, these are tradable. So the simulacrum, let's go here for testing. So you get your simulacrum key from Cephalon Samaras at any relay once you've earned standing with him, bought the key, and then you have access to like a basic simulacrum. It's basically like a level where you can control the environment, the enemies, the modifiers, whether you're going to take damage or whether they're going to stand still or attack you, etc. And you can test out your companions, your weapons, your whole synergy, your whole build. And there are many different simulacrums in the game to collect. I won't go over it now because I've done a separate video. And it basically, some of them can go much higher level than others. So I've gone to the Sanctum simulacrum because I know that I can do the maximum. It's like 220 level steel path modified enemies. You have an arsenal in here that you can fiddle around inside, and then you also have to be mindful that you have to scan enemies for them to appear in your simulacrum. Okay, so you should be scanning things passively if you can with one of your companions. I think I had Helios, I can't remember which one I took, on a lot of random missions. And as long as you have charges for scanning, they will scan enemies for you. And then they'll end up in your simulacrum. And I scanned so many that I ended up being able to have groups of 20 of certain enemies, which you'll see shortly. So that's a whole separate thing. But the simulacrum is awesome for testing in a controlled environment. Okay, with your companions, with your weapons, with a mod switched out here or there. Whether you even like this Warframe and their abilities and how they run, maybe you're just not doing it right. I never actually really liked ZEPHYR, and then I realised I wasn't using her correctly. And her floating around in the air, I was always a bit like, nah. But actually, I can see the benefit of it now, and I feel like I can control her a bit better now. So practicing the simulacrum, definitely the way forward. But you can also practice in a mission, solo, and treat that as your simulacrum. Doesn't matter if you fail or die, you can just abort the mission, and you'll see very quickly whether your build is working or not, your mods are working or not. It's just a bit faffy to load in and out, but the simulacrum makes it a bit easier, guys. So I just want to wrap up briefly about talking of shield gating, and I'm not an expert in it at all. I don't really understand it. I've tried to over the years. It was something that was kind of accidental, I think, and the devs embraced it, I think. Don't quote me. So basically for shield gating, we're going to need mods like Vigilante, Vigor, Catalyzing Shields, Fast Deflection, and an arcane like Arcane Aegis, because that gives us shield recharge. We essentially, when our shields break, you have an immunity to any excess damage leaking into your health pool. So it's just an effect that happens when shields are fully depleted. Now, you can capitalize on this by having this catalyzing shields mod. So basically, when your shields break, look, we become immune. I don't know if you saw it go silver. And then your shield will replenish really damn quick, like stupidly quick. And very, very little of that damage is allowed to go into your health pool. So you're kind of immune. I don't really understand the exact maths behind it. I don't need to. All I know is that if I apply those 3 mods and Arcane Aegis to most of my Warframe builds, we're going to be good. We're going to be okay. It's kind of like invincibility, I guess. And it's very, very useful when you get to high level steel path, because obviously they're doing a huge amount of damage to us. So practice the shield gating modifications. It's just that you're wasting, in a way, mod slots just to survive, which means you might have lower strength or lower range or lower duration. So this is where other arcanes and archon shards are going to come in, and these sort of dual mods with dual stats or corrupted mods. And really understanding the synergy between your Warframe and your weapon loadouts. And obviously some missions are just easier with a supportive squad. So someone who can heal people, someone who can give damage boosts, someone who can res people really quickly. You know, if you go in a planned squad, if you're going to do a long duration. Now, I am not personally obsessed with Steel Path. It's okay, and I like going there. And some of my builds need Steel Path. My Jaya build, she doesn't do good on normal. You know, she needs a lot of death to keep those abilities running, but we'll talk more about that in a separate video. But I just wanted to show you some ideas to get you started on Steel Path Warframes for survivability, and start your little brains working about this endo and credit situation. And then the next videos I'm going to do are going to be talking about useful weapons that you can get, the useful companions, And then finally, I'll do some sort of final build videos where you can see the whole lot in action. As I've kind of shown you here, I haven't actually given you the specifications of all the builds going on. And I mean, I could literally do a whole series of Steel Path, separate builds for each Warframe, best companion, best Warframes, but then the best weapons with them. You know, a lot of it is just your own personal preference. So my darlings, I feel like there's a lot of information for Steel Path and I don't want to overwhelm you with it. This is half an hour long. I wanted this to be like a 10-minute video. What's happened? I just wanted to show you some Warframes though to get you started and let me know how you're getting on. I've been talking to my Discordians and that's why I've made this video, because some of them are really struggling with the Steel Path modifiers. And it's just, I'm going to have to hold your hand when I tell you, you need to do some more work on your builds and your mods and your collection and your understanding of it and the damage types. We haven't even talked about that. More videos, Steel Path incoming, my darlings. If you want them shorter, I will try to do abbreviated videos where we're just looking at the basics. But in the meantime, I'm rambling on. Anyway, my darlings, thank you so much for joining me. I really do hope to see you again in the next one, no matter what it may be. But in the meantime, you take care now and goodbye.